It is 6:30, and I'm going to call this meeting to order on March 21st, 2024. And I'll do roll call first. So, Mayor Pro Tem Bill Lopez.
Here.
Councilmember, McGovern,
Here.
Councilmember Schuyler.
Here.
Councilmember Clinton.
Here.
And Councilmember McLeod.
Here.
Okay, and I'm Mayor Gray. If you would please rise for the pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And then to the Texas flag.
Under the Texas flag, I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible.
And then if you would remain standing for the invocation. Dear gracious Heavenly Father, Lord God, we just really thank you for the rain, Heavenly Father. And we do ask for more to fill up the aquifers. And Lord God, we're just so thankful to be here in Martindale. And we do ask for wisdom and discernment as we go forward with the governing of this little town. Heavenly Father, as always, we thank you for the gift of salvation. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen.
I would like to introduce you to Terry Warner. She's running for place 1. Hello.
Congratulations.
Okay, so we have public comments. Mary Beth Harper.
I've got some information from the library. Okay, currently the library is hosting AARP tax aid, and this is through April 9th. Okay, so far 150 returns have been completed, and I'm not sure if there's any openings. You can call the library. Sometimes they're able to get you in there. Second thing, Kite Day is going to be April 6th from 1 to 3 in Bates Park. We'll have kites, stop rockets, bubbles, frisbee golf, Mentos, and Coke. Also, there's Nerf footballs and basketball, all kinds of things that be flying around.
And the Coke.
Yeah. Oh, Coke.
I thought separate.
Not that kind of Coke.
That's about the mini.
Okay, then Monday, April 8th, from 11:30 to 3 is our eclipse party. Our library director actually has activities planned for children, and the library also has brand new eclipse glasses we just got. If you still have your glasses from the October eclipse, you can still use those. That's everything I have.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, so next is Dorothy Joe.
Oh, you can take that off.
Okay.
Yeah, that's fine.
And did you have a comment?
Yes.
Okay.
Good evening, fellow city council members, city administrator, and the public. During these last couple of years, we've had a drought, so a lot of wildflower seeds have been remaining dormant in the ground. We've had a warm, wet fall, and so now you see these beautiful yellow flowering plants everywhere. They're in the fields, they're along the fence lines, they're in undisturbed lands. They're called bastard cabbage or wild mustard. Radicum rugosum. It can grow 1 to 5 feet tall. It has a robust taproot, and then when it goes to seed, it has a 2-segmented seed capsule called a silique, S-I-L-I-Q-U-E, silique. It's also called turnipweed, common giant mustard. This plant creates a monoculture in your field. A monoculture being like Scotch broom in the West Coast. I don't know if some of you are familiar with the fields of Scotch broom in California, but it takes over. Now we have bastard cabbage taking over. They think it came from Northern Europe Southern Europe or Northern Africa and in contaminated seed mixes. Now, it also blocks the sun from the sun getting down to our native plant species such as Gaillardia and bluebonnet and native grasses. So now is the time to either cut it down to the ground to prevent it from going to seed and then depositing more seed in these places. So you, right now, though, the ground is moist and so you can pull it out because it has a very aggressive taproot like a radish. So even though you cut it, you are eliminating your seed stock, but you're not getting the plant down. I did go to Tractor Supply and buy some broadleaf herbicides such as 2,4-D, but now I have great reservations about using it. It's an endocrine receptor. It can harm your kidneys and liver or whatever, so I may just not spray that at all. If you are spraying any herbicide, you have to have 125-foot clearance from the riverbank. You cannot spray close to the river. So now everyone get out and hand pull your bastard cabbage, mow it down. But please try and get rid of it wherever you see it before it goes to seed. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Now I have one little, can I have my other statement?
Yes.
Okay. Hey, Patty Peterson was the former mayor of Martindale. She passed away recently, and her memorial service is going to be Saturday, March 30th, 11 a.m. at the Little Green Church. If any of y'all know her or remember her, it's a this meeting. And we're going to do something to honor her later.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Is our chief here? We're gonna do your report next.
I was gonna do it for you.
Come on down, chief.
It's your book. It's on. Grab my pen. My pen is not working. Good.
Thanks. Are we safe? Are we safe in this town?
Yes.
Okay, good. Like that answer.
First thing, we got our car back. Yesterday, it's running perfect. Okay, thank y'all for spending the money on getting it fixed. So we got that back. Picked up from Blue Line. February, this is February's report. We wrote, 55 citations and 27 warnings. Patrol activities, we had a lot of calls for service. We had 31 calls for service in February. Seeing that we're busy doing a lot of different things. 14 motorist assist and so forth. Over to code enforcement, did a lot of things. I know that, it don't appear to by the report, but we were doing a lot of stuff, that took time. It just took a lot of time. Things we were looking at, things on the river, some complaints that came in, and those were time consuming complaints that we had to look at and do a lot of stuff. We're also building a policy and protocol for the code enforcement. We're looking at different cities that have code enforcement full-time, and so we're gonna look at theirs and build ours off of that. Those are some things that we did, and also did some more training this past month, some code enforcement training. So a lot of things in talking to all the officers, everyone that works here to do more code enforcement stuff, so not putting it all on James, because he's only here part-time, not even really part-time, just a little bit of time. We want to take some of that off of him and do some more things, so that's what we're doing.
I had a question about that. So you're saying the officers will do more code enforcement. Do they enforce the citation that James would initially write up, or did they create and write the citation themselves and so forth?
So we're going to do a little bit of both. James is going to still pass the information on to see if we see something, write the initial warning. So we haven't had really anything that goes to citation yet. Everybody's been pretty good about fixing stuff with a warning and so forth. So we haven't had that. But we're going to do that whole thing. So we're going to go warn people verbally, say, hey, can you fix this? Can you do this or whatnot? And then, move on to everything else if it needs to go that far.
So you think so far in the warnings that you've given, what has been the most successful, or what success have you had in enforcing certain codes? I mean, just a few examples.
Yeah, just a few examples of the cars. Say, hey, can you get rid of some of these cars? You got motor vehicles parked here on your property. I can take you over 1979 and see a bunch of cars are removed from people's properties that we've gone by and said, hey, just talk to them. A lot of people didn't even know. that they weren't supposed to have them. So just talking to people and then working on getting them out of there. There's a property over there that probably moved already 15 cars. So, and just working with them verbally, you can go in there because they had so many, we could have went back and said, hey, we've given you now a month or 2 months, here's your ticket. But that's really not benefiting anybody. So, the way we're doing it, I think is beneficial. They're working with us and getting it done. And, they're not just dragging their feet. They're really trying hard.
Hmm.
So,
Thank you.
Has the traffic increased at our parks? Or it's getting a little bit warmer?
it's a little bit, I can do a lot. Some warm days, there's some more traffic in there. I will say this about February. February, we went, it was the first month, I believe we had no crashes.
Oh, good.
So, yeah, we went through the whole 29 days without. That was a good thing for us.
I know the towing signs are up in the park. Can you just brief me briefly about the policy or what's gonna happen or how that's?
So my briefing to you would be. Now, so what's gonna happen, I believe, right now, the towing company is just going by and giving verbal warnings to people. They're pulling up and saying, hey, you have to pay, or we're gonna tow you. You have to pay, you're gonna tow you. So they're at that point. I think some point in time during the summer, there'll be a point in time that they just say, hey, we're just gonna go in there and look at the car, they didn't pay, and they don't have a sticker or whatnot, and they're just gonna tow them. So, I don't know when it's gonna get to that point, but right now I do know that they're going through giving warnings. We got a complaint that they actually went and talked to somebody that, someone went and told somebody that, hey, you didn't pay. And so they filed a complaint on those, ones that come across the internet.
Yeah, it's kind of concerning because I know we have the signs there, but if some rando person is coming up to you and trying to
He actually
enforce
had
the
a-
law.
He actually had a uniform on. Yeah, they didn't pay.
So they have something that's identifying that they're gonna come up to them and identify them as,
He has a towing uniform. It's his towing uniform. That's what he's got. So he is marked by who he is. And he did tell
okay, because on the report it said just a lifted GMC. It didn't say like a tow truck.
him. He wasn't there in his tow truck. He was in his personal vehicle, just going through there and giving people, hey, you gotta tow, you gotta do this, you gotta do this. And I think it says the name on the side of it. I'm not 100% certain on that, so don't.
Yeah, so we don't know all that.
And I think we've given ample warning. We've had quite a few months where they've been asked to
Mhm.
pay.
There,
Yeah, the paying has been, all last year, all last summer rather. The tow signs just really went up, I guess, maybe a month ago.
Yeah.
Not quite that long ago, but, so I think that they're doing a good job of going and giving verbal warnings as well. And we've been telling them too, hey, like when I catch someone over, they didn't pay, hey, you gotta pay, because next time they can tow your car away. So we're just doing it like that. That's exactly how I say it to somebody. I'm not, they don't want to tow your car away. Pay this. I will say this for the people who are listening and everybody here. We get a lot of calls, right? For whatever kind of violation. If in law enforcement, if we did not see that offense occur, we cannot act on that. Okay, that's one. If we did not see it, now there are certain times we can, family violence, assault, felonies, those kind of things we can act on. But if we did not see a dog running down the street, if we did not hear a barking dog, it wasn't barking while we were there in our presence, there's really not much we can do. I want to address the policy with the city manager and the mayor on, or the ordinance, that we should probably clarify some stuff and clean it up a little bit, some of the verbiage. It's been in there for a long, long time, and the verbiage doesn't really read very good. So we probably need to clean some of that language up. But if it's not happening while we're there, we just can't go issue a citation. So what we're asking is if you hear this, if it's happening, it's bothering you, you see it, everybody's got cell phones nowadays. That's the best evidence that we can get. It's time and date stamp, it's got metadata on there. It's got everything that we could use. It says, hey, this is when, the mayor's dog was in the middle of the street. Here's a picture of it. Sorry, Mayor.
She probably was.
And there's a picture of it. They really can't combat that. And so we can use that as evidence. The other part of that whole scenario I just gave you, in lieu of calling us, you can come in and file that same Class C complaint with the courts yourself. Any citizen can file a Class C complaint, and you have your own evidence. So you don't really need the police to come out there and say, hey, this dog's out there, unless we're gonna try to get it and put it in the impound lot. That's the only thing that, for that. I just wanna bring that up because it's happened two or three times recently. And, just need to clarify people, clean up and let people know what the law is and what our limitations are as far as being able to go out and just write someone a ticket because we're angry that that person's dog was barking or whatever occurred.
I thought, just in interactions with the case like this with our former police chief, what was done is that he would be out there, because you have the decimal, reader, like it had to, be at a certain dogs bark. Now, if they're barking excessively or like whatever, I mean, like you're saying, now with video, AI, whatever, if somebody really wanted to get somebody and they wanted to, they could just do the video and AI some barking on there. And you're right, you should be able to be there and like hear it and see it and do what you need to do, but I know that it was done with the reader.
So, okay, so I'll just answer that, sort of. So we have two ordinances. You have one for loud noise,
Mhm.
that's where you would use the decibels, but you have another animal ordinance that says barking, period.
Uh-huh.
So those are two separate ordinances that could be enforced there. We have decibel meters too, but when we get there, if there's no barking,
Yeah.
period, what are we gonna do?
Nothing?
Right, so that's my point. We get there and there's no animal in the street.
Mhm.
What are we gonna do? If the animal's already made it back to their
Yeah.
yard or whatnot. There's really not much we can do at that point. So that's what I'm asking. You know, help us, help you by collecting some evidence, get the stuff for us, and we'll gladly do whatever we can to stop that. The decibel meters are all fine, and Daddy, if you get there and the dog's barking away and you can say, hey, then you have two violations. Really, you have excessive dog barking and then you have the noise. So you can really go out both different directions and address that way.
Quick question, previous statement you said about ordinances, if there's a particular ordinance and you have a problem with it, like for enforcement or some issue, I don't know about the rest of you guys, but I feel, come talk to me or the mayor or any of us, and if we need to tweak it, let's do it.
So Adrian and I have been discussing those a lot.
Okay.
So when we do run across an issue, because some of these ordinances have been around for a long, long time. And it's not y'all's fault. It's just they've been around for a long, long time and probably hadn't been addressed or cleaned up and things have changed and so forth. So they probably just need to be addressed and cleaned up a little bit. Just some minor tweaks. That's
So
all.
you guys already taken care of it. Right?
Yes.
Well, there's some ordinance like the dog barking one, where it's based on a reasonableness standard. And so, it's unreasonable for a dog to bark for a long duration, right? Certain times of night. And so some of the conversation that the chief and I have had is in situations like that, where the ordinance requires an interpretation because it is a subjective circumstance, it's part of his discretion whether to cite or not, in the lack of a very discrete, well-defined, black and white statement.
Just as
So,
proper
and so,
boundaries.
so in those situations, I'm comfortable leaving that up to the discretion of the police chief.
Mhm.
I know it puts him on the spot on making those balls and strikes comments, but I don't know if on situations like that one particularly, whether it makes sense for us to really get down and spend a lot of time figuring out how to well define it when, if you see it, if a dog's being unreasonable barking.
Well, there's other ordinances too that we've had interpretation issues, for moving dirt around and all that kind of stuff, we need to tweak them, We
Yes.
need to.
And most of our ordinances have different state laws that are associated with them that we can go different routes.
Right.
Mhm.
So just so you all know that. So we're not bound by the ordinances. Sometimes there's different state laws that we can address things with. And that's all I'm bringing.
I wanted to comment about the RV research. So one of the things that James is doing, we're trying to identify all of the RVs that are along the river, including mine. and know who's gonna be responsible in case of a flood that can move them. So we don't have somebody from Houston that is parked an RV next to the river. And then what are they gonna do if the flood comes? We have no way to remove it. So we're trying to identify all of those RVs. So that's the research where it says RV research.
So,
And then-
a long time, I'm sorry, so it took a long time. What we really did is go through, we just didn't stick to the river itself. We documented every single RV in Martindale city limits. So Westview, everything. You know, we documented every single RV, so we have it, and then we can, on our document, we can go in there and say, okay, it's filtered, so we can go in there and say, oh, these are the ones right now. And so what we want to do is now go find all the owners and say, hey, we need to contact them. That way we can send out, maybe try to do like a mass, hey, there's a flood coming. You know how they have a reverse 911? Maybe we can set up something that we can notify everybody, hey, you want to move this. So things of that nature. That's what we spent the time doing. That's good. Stuff was.
But it's just like, whenever we were talking about the ordinance and what our ordinance clearly defines about RVs and then about tweaking the ordinance, so our ordinance has it clearly defined about RVs in the floodplain, in the floodway. So are we following our ordinance?
Yes. Yes. I wasn't talking about tweaking the RV ordinance at all.
Yeah.
Well, that was those dogs. But, as far as ordinances, but, yes, we are. And so everything that we have right now, we're pretty good. There's a couple that we need to probably look at and talk to, but everything that we documented so far is really good and everybody's, within the ordinance.
Yeah, I had a citizen ask me about that because they had received a warning citation on their RV. And I said, yes, you need a special permit. That's a $50 permit where you register it now. And I don't know if I've seen this or if the city has created the form that a person would use that has the ID, location of the RV, the registration, have we created that form for someone to pay the
Yes.
$50?
We have.
We only
Okay.
had one person pay.
Okay, good. Okay, good. Well, I'll tell them that all they have to do is come in and pay the $50 and it's fine.
But like with that, how would people know?
That's what they're doing. They're
We
identifying.
let them know it's on the hanger.
Oh, but it's not on the website or anything like that, or, yeah.
I agree. I definitely like more of the new stuff,
Mm-hmm.
in particular, get posted on the web so
Yeah.
people can, we talked about that communication, especially the new things. I know you're putting in the flyers, which I think is awesome. But just, it takes 20, it takes 20 times to touch before people really get it. So,
Our intern Allison was working on that today.
yeah, so I'm glad you guys are doing that. So.
Thank you.
Thanks, Steve.
Thank y'all.
Does this need?
So Adrian, this is not green.
Start over. Might be a battery.
That one can hear it. That one's working, but that one's not green.
That's okay.
Might just have some different quality this time, but I take that back. Yeah, that's.
In between Mike and I.
So our next item was to go into executive session. Our attorney's not here. Do we have to have him to do that or?
Well, this executive session is related to, personnel. So regarding the evaluation and appointment of city engineer. So generally.
I don't think we would have to for that.
Yeah, since we're not doing a legal consultation with them, I think we'd be okay. And any decision, and on the rest of the agenda has any decisions that would be made following that.
But like, what if we as council members have questions that we want to ask him?
We can probably give him a call.
Where is he?
Yeah.
Can we skip it, go
Leon?
down to, let's skip that part and go to the other items.
Is he
Yeah,
calling?
maybe talk first on the new business and then after we learn more, then we could go to the executive session.
If you want to go to the printing services one and all.
Yeah,
I'll
that
give him a
goes
call.
that way.
I just texted him. Okay, printing
All right,
services.
this is me. All right, there's a
Okay.
summary, if you go to page, whatever, flipping. heck number
17.
is. How much?
17.
17, okay.
Educated, sir.
Okay, so I'll give you the backstory. So we had a meeting in January. We had the initial summary of the Toshiba and the DeWitt POF, which I never can say that right, but I think I'm close.
Right.
We ended up getting 2 quotes, and I had some, obviously we went with Toshiba because they were cheaper. The machine includes a folder and stapler. The lease is $184. Of that, about $45 of that, between $40 and $45 is for the folding and stapling, just to give you an idea. Well, that's built into the lease, okay? Because if you look at the one next to it, the DeWitt machine next to it, it's only $192. That's with it, and then you go to the one on the far right, it shows $130 without the folder and the stapler. So you can see the difference is somewhere in that $50 range is for those attachments, if you will. What I did basically is did an assumption of how much supplies we would do, 10,000 black and white every single month and 2,000 colors, and give us those are called clicks. Now understand, a click is both sides of the page. Okay, so that's why you never use pages or prints. You always use the word click. Because trust me, I've done this before and it's very confusing for some people. 1 sheet of paper, man. Both sides count. So right now, just for the mailing of the bills right now, we're doing at least 1,000. And then if there's another insert, that's another, 400, 500. So I don't think getting to 10,000, and especially with the growth that's going on, is out of whack. And then 2,000 colors. So the Toshiba is still the cheapest. The concern I had with them is there was a clause particularly into the Toshiba agreement, which said that if we did over 6% of coverage on average on a print, we would be subject to a surcharge of supply costs. So I was obviously red flagged me pretty significantly. I talked to the service manager specifically, and he says we're under a government contract, and he did reference it on the actual form that but he hasn't given us a copy of it. But basically it says that we pay click only, no matter how much the coverage is. There's no evaluation. But I was obviously concerned about that because if the mayor decided to run trifolds and ran 1,000 trifolds at full coverage, you could end up paying more than we were on the inkjet machines. You know what I mean? The other thing to be noted is that we really only have 2 quotes. We have Toshiba and Ricoh. Kyocera, which is the other machine, is not a high-end machine. It's basically a desktop machine. It'll do it. It's not considered a printer. In my business, from my background from being a UPS store owner, there's only 3 vendors that qualify for the UPS stores and almost all print shops in the United States. It's Xerox, Konica Minolta, and then Ricoh is the 3rd one. Ricoh's the lower end of them. Which really is all we need from the city standpoint. Canon's another one that doesn't have enough coverage from a service standpoint. Just to give you some also history, Toshiba was bought by Ricoh in Japan. So Toshiba will not be making printers going forward. So Ricoh bought them in August of this last year, 23. But that is one negative of going forward for Toshiba, is at some point that machine will no longer, that engine, if you will no longer be manufactured. So there is a life of the printer. So we will probably not be able to buy the printer out at the end of this to continue it. Not that we would want to, but that is something to consider. That you basically, wouldn't be able to do that because long-term, it won't be a repeatable engine. Regarding what happened with the library, we started this negative theme process with Toshiba. Toshiba put in a Lexmark printer in the library because they needed a smaller end machine, which is below their standards that they needed. And during COVID, because it was a secondary and they were obviously like an independent dealer with regard to servicing it, weren't able to get parts because they had no leverage. So all the parts and everything went to Lexmark only people. And I'll leave it at the relationship did not end well. So that was I was not happy with them about that. And that was what started this whole slow down process. So from a business standpoint, if the money wasn't an issue, I'd pick the Ricoh over the Toshiba every day. without even thinking about it. But from a cost standpoint, obviously, there is a little bit of a cost difference, so. I have spoke to the service managers from everybody, and everyone says that they'll put in the contract that they'll be here within 4 to 6 hours, and they'll do but within 2 days, put a lower rate. Everyone agrees to that, but they don't want to put it in writing. They're supposed to though. On a government contract, if we actually had that CPO 4426 that they refer to on the bottom of that, that I referenced, it's actually in the Toshiba contract. It probably says that, but they don't tell you that. And I know they didn't tell you that when they came to pitch the machine. I had to kind of pull his teeth a little bit, and he says, so he didn't even know, sales rep didn't know. The service manager from Toshiba had a call, so I'm not surprised. You know what I mean? So that's all I know. To me, it's a half dozen one of them. I feel very confident that they're gonna support the machines that they have, because you're not doing the secondary. I do not recommend going to number one, because it's a high service machine, and number two, even though they have service all the way to Luling, and they're trying to do more business, I would always suggest you do business directly with the manufacturer. You're just gonna get better service. And they also have a lot of presence. Rico has a lot of presence in Caldwell County as well as in Ames.
So you did all this research, what would you recommend?
I would prefer the Rico, but it's basically gonna be $40 a month,
No.
On the supply assumption.
Then on some side, and also don't forget that machine, the Rico, the reason why it's really more expensive, it's 45 pages a minute, and the other ones are all 35. That's what you're getting. That's the difference. I took the slower one when I put the Toshiba faster one in, it was way over, so the 35. As a print shop, like if you walked into a print shop, a UPS store, whatever, post whatever, the minimum that they would have would be a 55 page machine, minimum. 50, 55, and then you get to about 75, 80. That's about as fast as you want a black and white. Until you end up needing a press to move the paper without having the paper just starts. There's so many issues.
So what I'm just hearing you say, you recommend the Toshiba is the best choice.
From a price standpoint, the only thing I don't like about it is their black and white clicks are very, very expensive. So if we actually think we're going to print more, that's not a good decision going forward.
Well, the goal is to print less.
I understand. That's why I'm saying, that's why I think my number was pretty close.
10,000 pages is what the.
10,000 black and white, the lease includes 3,500 on that one, and then 5,000, I took those out. Because that's included in their quote. So they're giving you the first 5,000 black and white for the, for the refresh.
I would like the input from the mayor and from Adrian. You guys are dealing with this, not me.
So from our report that we got with Versio, our most used printer, the highest we ever did in a month was 4,000 copies. If what Rico is saying is 5,000 black and white guaranteed, we've never even gone past 5,000 pages. Maybe that's perhaps the best choice.
All the color would not count on that. You didn't color.
But even then, colored copies, we maybe do, I don't know, maybe 50 a month.
Unless you default the print drivers, black and white, they're pretty low.
We do more than that.
We do a lot.
You do a lot.
Yeah, they will.
We did 400 just the other day.
Colored copies here.
Yeah, with the newsletter thing.
So what's your input, Mayor, on that?
I thought I was pretty close with my number. You know what I mean? I know 10,000 is probably a little high, but I think you in particular, when you start doing codes and you're printing out stuff for people, you're going to be printing stuff,
And every citation we write is a two-sided color printer.
Yeah.
So Mayor, what would you?
Well, my question was about the folding. The machine is bigger, right? And you said it was slower if it had
When
the
it
folders.
folds, when it folds, those will run at under 15 pages a minute.
But if we had a separate folder,
It'd go like a bat out of you know what.
but then we'd have to have a place to put the folder.
That's the rub. That's the rub.
How big is a folder?
It's pretty big. It's about what the size of the printers that are on the.
Yeah, it just depends on which one you get. Yeah, there's
So
the
if
little one,
we're removing the printers out, you have a space for it.
but
That's
But
true.
it's-
because that's space.
Lovely.
It all depends how mechanical you guys are, because folders are like anything. You gotta play with them a little, you know? I don't want it to take any longer than it is. They've offered to quote the folder separately and take the folders off, but then you lose the stapler in almost all cases too.
I
it
don't think
becomes-
we ever staple anything.
Not that often.
It's real rare to staple anything.
Yeah.
We were more interested in the folding
Mhm.
because it took 3 of us all day, or well, all afternoon.
Did you set it up with your folding, like you know you're gonna fold, set it up to do it overnight and come in?
No, folders gotta,
Oh, you gotta be there.
you feed on the small ones, the Martingale has one that hangs off the table. It's literally this big. And it collects and you can only put about 40, 50 sheets in at a time. It folds, it drops into a thing and then you're just adding. You know, it's basically, you got 2 friction rollers, just putting it through, stops, fold, push it back, turns in and goes the other way and then drops. The machines that I've used are like you're referring to, they're like, there's a Martingale 969 is for sale for like $400 in Dallas, which is just an awesome machine. And I can fold probably 4,000 sheets an hour with it, maybe more, which you would never, it would just.
No, we don't,
overkill.
we only have
We
400.
were looking at models, but they're about $300.
Yeah. But
and
you're-
about
yeah.
a box like this.
Yeah.
I
Yeah, they're
think-
cheap, they're much cheaper. If you wanna, I mean, we can go back and quote the lease, but no one had done that at this point. They were working on, you know, deciding whether we really needed to
But
pull
what
that out or
has
not.
to be folded?
Our,
The bill.
the bill.
And the newsletter and any other papers that are going in there.
And if you're mailing.
There's only about 50 bills where they get more than 2 pieces of paper if they're late or something.
And if we're ever gonna mail out to the city, you know, notices or something, it's good to have, I'm not disputing to have one, it's just, you know.
I think we're a very wasteful office with paper though. I think paper is like, you know, we use it like it's just, we're still back in the olden days. So like, I mean, like newsletters, I think they're more useful if they're up to date and they're on the computer. And I know not everybody uses a computer, but we do have people that do come into the office because they do have to pay their bills. So then if they were just made available, like for me, I don't need to get a newsletter in the mail. If I wanted to look at a newsletter, I would just go online. And to me, it's just like,
But that
it's
makes it-
really wasteful.
That makes it really, I mean, there's just such a divide there, because there's a lot of people in this community that just don't have
They're
the
not there
access
yet.
that we have,
Yeah.
you know, and you can't just say, hey, do you want a newsletter? Do you want a newsletter? No, cool, so it's either one way or the other. I think we're just kind of stuck on, we have to deliver the newsletter through via mail.
Well, like a total between amongst the bills that are sent out per month and newsletters, how much is that a month?
So
For
what
the
was question again?
postage is like
For the-
63 cents a letter.
So
This is the seven.
some quick math real quick?
I don't know anyone that can do macro.
We got some computer.
Oh, yeah.
Somebody got a haircut, the information. So then it's like, how much is it for postage?
That's a few $1,000s a year,
No, per month.
few $100s a month.
We're mailing what, 405, 400 and
Yeah,
About
something like that.
400 at
Yeah.
63 cents.
That's just for the postage.
And we're getting a discount, I think 2 cents per letter.
Mhm.
But- Mayor, back to my point, you, Adrian, I had no clue about printers. I have no clue how they work. I don't use the printers. You know, you guys are here every day, and I want to know what you guys think's the best way. I'm gonna put it
Well,
on you.
the other question I had is the footprint of a machine that already has the folder in it is bigger. And where we need to put the copier is not very big.
well, Adrian has a lot of space in his office.
No.
You're funny, man.
You can put it
I
in my
know.
house, in
Yeah.
the carport.
It's right around the corner.
We got a tar
Just sit
sport.
on it.
And we don't have to have high quality printing. So I'm probably leaning towards the cheapest one.
Are you okay?
Having a separate folder just buying a folder separately.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's probably better to go with the cheaper option,
Okay.
just because
Okay.
supplies, you probably will, the cost difference is probably just the supplies, to be honest. It's gonna, the Toshiba materials, well, the paper and the ink and whatever else is probably gonna then match this, but then this will go up to like $300 a month. Might as well just go with the cheaper option,
Okay.
Which is Toshiba.
Toshiba.
Well, I'll make a motion to go with Toshiba as the, or housing. I just need to read it.
Maybe a second.
Sorry, give me some time. Get organized here.
Well, is that 344 or 184? Which line are you looking at? There's two lease lines, one in the middle of the document.
Okay, the lease, the 184.82 is the lease. That's with the folder. If we quote, they are willing to quote it without the folder.
We're doing without the folder with.
And then the one lease plus click, so that's the copies.
Yes, so clicks or copies. So I was doing the total, assuming 10,000 black and white and 2,000 color, so.
That's how much you're saying per month with the bottom row of
Yes,
the numbers.
but
Is the top lease, the
Just
top supply there, that would be the total.
the lease, yeah, the lease is the lease. That's just for the machine.
Uh-huh.
And then that's it. I did an assumption based on, how many.
Okay, Mr. Governor, you make the motion and go.
I make a motion that we can continue negotiating with Toshiba for the machine with a caveat that they're gonna quote to pull the folder off of the machine. And then we can make an evaluation on that, on buying our own folder. It's still the cheapest one either way.
I'll second that.
So,
I mean, yeah.
so we're gonna go forward with Toshiba.
Yeah, and I've already
Okay.
approved them on the contract, so he's already gonna send us that other.
So with you saying that, is that the
CPD.
price that's the?
184.82 includes the folding on the machine, and he's gonna quote it without the folder on the machine.
So we don't know how much it's gonna be with. those?
Well, it'll be less. It'll only be less.
Yeah.
It'll be anywhere between $30 and $40 less a month, and then we would buy our own folder.
If I,
Which would be honest with you, for the size of
And
the
those,
office,
if I remember the
I-
quote for Toshiba was $45.
how much?
$45 a month to have that extra.
Yeah, which if you do it over 60 months, that's a lot of money. There's no way it costs that much money.
quick math.
That's a lot.
Quick math.
Yeah, I don't have to do quick math on that. Y'all can do math on that. That one's easy.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Is there any more discussion? Okay, hearing none, all in favor, please say aye. Any opposed? Okay, so the motion carries.
Get a little bit.
Thank you, Matthew.
The attorney's standing by, Mayor.
Oh.
We want to break, we can call him in.
Okay,
You want to continue, we can continue. It's only probably be about 15-20 minutes, it's been about 15-20 minutes, so.
okay,
I guess
so
We want to break.
we will break into executive session. Okay, so it is 8:11 and we'll go back to session. And so in executive session, we discussed our relationship with the engineers Freeland and Turk. And now we're ready to move on to 4.1. And I would entertain a motion.
So I'm gonna make a motion to go ahead and appoint Freeland and Turk Engineering Group LLC as a city municipal engineer. And I would like to go ahead and make a motion to accept the proposed task orders for Freeland and Turk Engineering Group LLC for general engineering services. So I would like to accept 4.1 and 4.2 as proposed.
Should we do it separately?
We've already discussed it.
Versus their second.
Second.
So Nick second. Okay, so we have a motion and a second. Is there any more discussion?
One thing that we have discussed is these contracts are on a yearly basis. And so are we talking about a fiscal year, a calendar year? They gave us some price quotes that go up December of 24. What timeframes are we talking about going into the future
We
to accept them?
would do a new contract each fiscal year.
You what?
We do a new
Fiscal.
contract Likely in that first quarter of the new fiscal year.
Fiscal year. Okay. That is all I got.
I still, like I said, I'd still like to have some sort of verbiage in there about communication. I don't know how we can do it in the contract about,
I'd be willing to add a point in our scope of services that says, any grant support provided will be done under a separate task order, which forces everyone, to negotiate before we start.
perfect. I like that.
Okay,
Okay.
sounds good.
So I'd like to revise my motion, 4.2 to include any grant supported will be under a separate task order.
I second. Yeah.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Is there any more discussion? Okay, hearing none, I'm gonna call the vote. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, the motion carries. We now have city engineers. Thank you.
Welcome to the jungle.
What happened? Do you say go la 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 la, like Guns N' Roses so bad after that? Just finish it. Dude, move it all around like Axel.
Okay, we're,
Mayor,
I think he has a question.
yes,
would you like to consider 4.5, the discussion about the increased cost on the culvert, in case there's any questions about that?
That is-
I might be able to help.
That is, Lanzola's engineering firm, right? And their contract.
They're
Yes,
their
we
cost
could-
estimate that we reviewed.
we could do that separate. So, what he's referring to is 4.5, motion to approve or deny the $18,000, $126 for the culvert expansion from the Riverview subdivision, final plat approval on 1/18/2024. So when we were reviewing that subdivision application and we approved it, there was a motion made that the city pay for
The difference.
some difference that was suggested that we,
I made that motion and
for a culvert.
I made that motion and I'll be on, I'm totally against it. $18,000 is way too much money.
Hey, guys, did you guys look at the cost?
$18,000 is way too much money. I'm against it. I'm on record. I'm against it because that's what happens when you try to work with someone. You know, I try to come up with a good, I take offense, this is not you guys. I take offense to Lanzola because I thought this would be a great time to upgrade our culverts, but not for 18,000.
But Mike,
I'm totally
it's,
against it.
it's not Lanzola setting the price on this, it's their construction.
Okay, their construction.
Well, I
But
understand.
what, my question, why aren't they here?
Well, I understand and I agree with you, Mike, because
I mean,
actually,
go ahead.
because this is gonna help the development of the rest of the lane.
Exactly,
And for them to not,
yes,
step up now
exactly.
to help what's going across 80 that's gonna be coming down that same culvert and the rest of the commercial, and yeah, they're gonna do retention ponds and that's gonna stop it. Yeah, horse puppy. For them not to help pony up and give us a better deal than this, you'd be quite honest.
Plus, they don't even,
Disappointing.
they don't even want to come in and talk to us about it. So I'll make a motion right now.
Well, wait, he was gonna.
No,
say
go ahead,
something
go
first.
ahead, go ahead.
I thought you were gonna tell us.
I'm
something.
done.
No?
The question was, did we look at this?
Yes, sir.
And we did.
Okay, so
We
can
did.
you give a report? real quick?
I can, it felt a little bit on the expensive side to me, but not a lot.
Yeah.
And let me kind of give you some background information. Adrian, would you go to the 36-inch RCP pricing?
They're not here, that's my point.
I know.
I have
We
a problem
didn't,
with
we
that.
didn't ask them to
Well,
come.
We can,
And didn't our motion say that we would do it?
yeah,
So
but not based on that cost.
No.
They never mentioned
He
cost.
said that they would provide us a price difference and we would make a decision. It was that way.
I'm against it.
It's actually, yes, in front of it, the 36.
Let them flood.
Oh, I see, that's.
So, yeah, so that's the, what, did you have both estimates in there?
I thought I did.
No, it's.
You know, we're recording.
Yeah, there he is.
It's before and after quote. Give me a second.
It's 3 pages earlier. The 36 is listed first.
No, he just had it.
Let me bring it up. I have it in my email.
57.
So,
It is. It's first. There's the 36. Right. And then 1, 2, right.
I have a yellow
3
highlight on
pages
it.
later, it's the 48.
No, you didn't
Oh.
know. That was a mistake on my part.
Well, no, I wouldn't say it's a mistake. We got the price.
Yeah, that's, there you go. There it is.
okay. So that is $371 a linear foot
For 2.
for that pipe. It's a 3-foot pipe, right?
Yep.
So if we take $371
Wait a
divided by
minute,
3.
I was quoted a different price from this Kohler outfit up here. Do you have the information, Adrian?
So,
Hold on.
Just wait.
if you got a cost from a culvert salesman, you got a material cost.
Exactly.
This is materials and labor
Okay.
and insurance and bonding. And
Okay,
this is an install price.
what is the material cost? A dollar, what was, how much a
What
foot?
they gave me, I don't have a digital copy.
This is the, this is the cost of the contractor to acquire that material and install that material. It's,
Yeah, I'm gonna discuss this right now because.
Mike,
No, wait, no,
Just
let him
He's
finish.
getting a report about it first.
Yeah,
Can we
and
hear
so-
this report?
so if we go to the 48-inch pipe, it was
542.
542 divided by 4. So in this situation, the 36-inch pipe was $123 per 12 inches.
Mhm.
The 48-inch pipe was $135 per pair, per 12 inches. Proportionally,
It's not much.
the costs were
Yeah.
similar, a little bit higher.
Yes, exactly. I agree with that.
That's, so, I
I
mean,
agree.
if
We can
it,
counter.
if it takes, you know,
I
3
did.
gallons to make a 36-inch, it should take 4 gallons to make a 48-inch.
Correct.
And proportionally,
Right, I was in a pipeline
the
business.
cost was,
I did pipeline for a living for 30 years. I know pipeline,
and so based
Can't
on
get anything
the,
done.
based on these numbers, they weren't.
No, can't get anything done.
So,
Can we have an educated discussion real fast
Yes.
instead of yelling? Thank you.
I'm not yelling it down.
You're yelling in general and it's hard to
I'm not
get
yelling
anything
it
done.
down. I'm
You
just
gotta get
telling
stuff
you-
done here.
I'm not yelling it down. He's doing his job and he's agreeing with me at this point.
Sure.
Okay.
So let's
Go
figure out
ahead.
what we need to do besides, anyway, let's go on. So as an engineer, this is beneficial to the city, correct?
Beneficial to them mostly because that is new construction.
Yeah, but there will be flooding, possible flooding if we don't do it.
In the future, you're correct. But after development comes, as Mr. McGovern said, yes.
You're just increasing the conveyance, whatever that means.
And remember,
What's a good counter?
this corner is already in the floodplain, so you're increasing the conveyance up to a certain point,
Right,
and then it really doesn't matter because it's all going over the
Yeah.
road.
yeah,
Exactly.
yeah.
Is it a benefit to the city? It will increase the conveyance.
Yes,
Is it better than, is the 36-inch pipe better than what's out there now?
Yes.
Absolutely. Is the 48-inch pipe gonna be better than the 36-inch pipe? Yes, to a point.
Good point.
Are the cost differential relatively proportional? Close, but it's a little bit more expensive on the 48.
Should
On the
we,
material cost.
should we counter?
no.
What's your problem?
That's up to you. You can.
Like I said, I'm more
But you're going
disappointed.
back to the developer to go back to the contractor. and the-
Yeah, I'm more disappointed that they aren't here. No, but, I mean, I am that, but I'm more disappointed that they're, that we're helping the rest of that development, which they
Correct.
own. And for them to be this short-sighted over $18,000
Yeah.
and try to put the onus
They sell
is.
the land, they develop it, they're going to come back, dig that all up, put it in.
And I'm telling you right now, I'm gonna be a total versus ass.
I think you used another word before.
Yeah, but I'm here, I'm the public and
Well,
we're being.
you know what, I'm a little aggressive tonight, but I was the one that came up with this motion. to say while we're in there, let's make, because I've been in pipeline construction, I know this business. And you got an excavator out there, and you got a crew out there. And to dig a trench for 36 inch and for a 48 inch, it's not that much difference. It's the cost of the equipment setup and the labor. It's obvious, they've padded it pretty good. And for, yes.
What I would like to say is that at that meeting, I know that what I said, I was strongly and like firmly stating that it should be up to the developer to, you know, to do the upgrades and to make sure that, because it's their development. But when we as a council discussed it, it was discussed that the city would be willing to pay the
Yes.
difference. Now, will it be better than it is now? Yes, it will be. Will it save? And Mike, I have to say that the comment about let it flood, like we as a community that have flooding here, it's so detrimental to our community. And I have to say that I cannot agree with that statement and just say let it flood.
Well, I get flooded. I got flooded. I know about flooding.
But it's just a comment that was.
Well, you know what? They're disingenuous.
So we can't say just let it flood.
Okay, that was out of line. I'll retract that statement.
Thank you. So then what I would like to say is that, you know, if we could just counter them instead of making this a prolonged discussion. And let's see, so I think, you know, it's at 18. And I think, what do y'all think about countering with 12?
No, I'll make a motion. To deny the $18,126 for the culvert expansion.
You want to negotiate, Mike? You
No,
want to negotiate.
I say we-
That's fine, just vote on that and then
That's
make the
right.
motion.
Yeah, that's what's gonna happen.
That's-
I like that negotiate.
Me too.
I guess it fails.
Yeah.
It's in your court.
Emotion. Do that.
Go half. Go half. Yeah, go half.
Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and make a motion to counter the 18,126 proposed amount expansion from the Riverview subdivision final plat to the amount of
Say,
9,000.
I'll second that.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Is there any more discussion?
Who will reach out to them and explain this to them? And then they'll come back and say, well, we'll accept this or not. And then.
Sure.
They're probably watching.
We'll negotiate, we'll negotiate the motion.
On Zoom. Huh?
We'll negotiate the motion and see what they report back, and after enough discussion, we'll report it back to the council.
Sounds good. Thank you, Adrian.
Okay, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
No.
Okay. The motion carries.
Matthew, how did you vote?
Aye.
Disingenuous.
I agree, Mike.
It was your idea.
It was mine.
Thank
I thought it
you.
was a good idea. Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
No, I'm not on you at all.
I'm a numbers guy.
I was trying to push out, trying to get.
He didn't even have to do it. He didn't get paid for that.
Thanks for that.
No, value add.
No, we're on the same page.
Hey, itemize that, please. I want that itemized in my email tonight.
Thank you.
Bye, y'all.
Hey, I appreciate it. Thank you guys.
I'm a donkey sometimes, sorry.
Get over here.
Okay, let's go back to 4.4, to amend the American Rescue Plan. And Jared has this.
Oh, well, wait, I'm sorry, could I have just one question about that culvert? If we were gonna pay for it, how were we going to pay for it? Out of what grant or?
We're gonna talk about it in this item.
Oh, that's
It was scheduled in a
Okay.
fashion where it would make more sense.
With the Skull Road improvements.
Come on, man. All right, can we take
I don't wanna be
a recess, man? We need to get this out of the.
Hug it out, everybody, hug it out.
I knew the money was coming from somewhere. Thank you.
It would be part of this stuff.
Okay, thank you.
That's why, when we were coming up with the, that's why I put this as first, because it would make.
It would make more sense to do this way.
Alright, so, we'll go through this, the first 3 slides are slides you've seen before, and then we'll give an update. So, this is an update on the American Recovery Plan Act. That was a billion, trillions dollars thing that federal government passed. Portion of that was given to the states, local, under state and local financial recovery fund. Martindale received approximately $305,000. That has to be obligated on a contract by the end of fiscal year 24. Poof. But under federal rules, funds received are considered lost revenue and are available to fund government sources, services. So under old rules, it would had to be used for like broadband and different things. They relaxed those rules eventually. So anything under 10 million, you can call it lost revenue. And that's really it. However, we want to make good use of it, so we came with a spend plan. For the next slide. The initial spend plan that was presented in October 22 covered $190,000 in wastewater system repairs. 135 of that was related to lift station upgrades. A lot of that work, $135,000, almost 75–80% of it is covered under the Community Development Block Grant, TDA, that we recently received. So those funds have kind of opened back up. That's been plans to overcome that. The Crockett Lift Station, Noble Pipe, treatment plant, tree removal, inflation, other costs, kind of some buffer. Couple of matching program costs for grants, and then salaries and technology expenses, and that kind of got us close to that figure, about 3 times. So that's what we approved, City Council approved in 2022. This next slide is an accounting of where that is in terms of status. So focusing on the top part above the line, those are the same projects shown in a spreadsheet format. What was planned then, same amounts, and then actuals allocated or spent to date. So no money has been spent on the lift station upgrades, no money's been spent on the Crockett Lift Station with pipe replacement. Funding has been spent on the tree removals at the treatment plant. Inflation, other costs is a buffer not spent. North River Road, our matching contribution is yet to have been spent. The downtown revitalization, that was initially going to be for a downtown revitalization grant that turned into the TxDOT sidewalk grant, and which we didn't get. So that's not spent. And then salaries, expenses, technology. Yeah, question on that.
Engineering could be then what?
Right, and that's what we're going to get to.
Sorry.
Below the line. So, the salaries, expenses was already transferred, and the technology procurement was done. So that gets us to what was approved, planned, and executed. The going below the line, these are the modifications that City Council has approved since October 2020. So we've gotten approval to use that on several engineering services, the Fixed Water Development Board, the JLO mod, the extra $2 million for the bridge by Indian Court and Riverbend, the TDA block grant that we got.
The GLO bond, we had to go out of pocket, that wasn't included?
Yeah, we had to go out of pocket, but it was guaranteed returns.
Okay, so they'll come back out.
We paid a few $1,000s, that gives guarantee a $2 million grant.
You're gonna let it go.
No, it wasn't done on a contingent.
Yeah, no pass through.
Yeah, it wasn't, what they didn't do it for free and then catch it on the back end, they had us pay for it. The capital software expense, QuickBooks, that's come in about $17,500. Wastewater system failure repairs, we had Crockett expense, and then the recent vehicle repair. So that's kind of where we've spent to date. Spent about $104,000 almost 105,000 to date. We still have planned another 107, leading us to an amount to be allocated. So going to the next slide, this is really where this is kind of our trade space, right? So considering the grant, or not the grant, this funding as a revenue loss disbursement, the best path forward at this point in this fiscal year is to allocate those revenue replacement funds into the funds themselves. So moving funds into the general fund, moving funds in the utility fund for that revenue replacement purpose. That way we can report that we've used those funds as they were intended.
We have to do it before the end of the year, I get you.
Yeah.
And we're gonna obviously have a shortfall of
6 months.
income and sales tax.
Yeah.
reduction in the next few years.
That's
So
what
there's
first thing popped in
sales
my head.
tax and other things. And then at the end of the year, where the budget lies, but we put those funds into our revenue replacement allocation. And we'll see what happens. But at that point, we've satisfied the intent of, so today, if we take what we've currently spent and what we know for sure we intend to spend, we should allocate, some of this has already been allocated, but Wayne wasn't available when we were doing some of this math. And so we're gonna have to go back because I couldn't get the numbers to match what we're spending now, 3 fiscal years or so. But assuming at the end of the day, where we want our allocation to be, what we plan to spend and have already spent, we should allocate $144,000 to the general fund. At least $67,000 to our utility fund. That gives us the remaining $93,000 to be allocated amongst those funds. And that's really what is up for discussion and conversation tonight with city council is, where do you want those funds allocated? What projects might you have in mind to put towards it? And the project themselves don't have to be determined tonight, but it'll help identify whether the bulk of that goes into the fund. So I know we have needs in the police department, police vehicle, for a third vehicle, they're running the Explorer down. Body cams, other equipment that they purchased, use on that, and then we also have our utility fund that can always runs near deficit.
Yeah, I think our utility fund is obviously
Well,
the,
we've been cash neutral
yeah,
the last couple of years at least.
Yeah.
but we always have to manipulate it and it's always has a hole in that pocket because of certain situations. that we don't need it. So I feel like that's what we always catch ourselves needing funds for, or at least approval for.
And we have another agenda item next, right, of $53,000.
Well, that was my point. I won't, no offense, I'm glad you're bringing this up, but to some extent, I wanna know it's there and wait to see the impact of the lack of the sales tax and this payback of how it's gonna look. I mean, we have until we don't start doing a budget, we're gonna do our budget before this is due.
We also,
because this has to be in theory off the books by the end of 2024. But I'd really like to know where we're gonna be at the end of this fiscal year, at the end of September.
So if we have a surplus in our general fund, we allocate those surpluses, and if we have deficits, if we don't cover.
I also would like, I would like to see a couple months of full swing, the parking that's going on in the parks too, we're just making some assumptions right now.
My concern about delaying the allocation too long is that say if we did this in September,
Yeah.
unless we're covering actual deficit.
Sure,
It gets a little.
It looks bad.
Looking at
Yeah.
right. Well, let's set some,
Well, we can start moving monies now. Don't move it all, but move some of it or most of it.
I would move a lot of it.
And we can undo this.
No, because once we make the allocation. we
It's
replace
spent.
our lost revenue.
Yeah.
and then we can,
No offense, I don't wanna just start funding the utility fund and all of a sudden that becomes we can just go spend money, because I wanna use the grant money for the utility fund for the upgrades, not, like you said, we've got another windfall, thank the Lord, for that. And we were gonna, this is why there is this extra $90,000 is because of that. Because you started doing the work and you gotta stop and now wait, and now the second fund, just kind of the delay has helped,
Yeah.
but.
Can I make a suggestion? Maybe we should jump down to 4.6. Discuss that first, and then we can go back to this figure. 'Cause that could,
Could I just, say something I would like to add? That I believe that because we have a larger police department, we have more staff. We do have like currently one good vehicle, correct?
We have 2 vehicles that are in service. One has gone out of service several times, which is getting older, right? So when we lose a vehicle down from service, we only have one. The goal that at one point, we just had one, we went to 2. The police chief has mentioned, I'd really like to get to 3, we can make it happen. But that's.
And so then what I think, we need to do, because like they get older, they have the miles
Mhm.
on them, they do all that. I think that our police department needs another vehicle. I think they need to either sell the other,
Mhm.
maybe possibly 2, have 2 newer vehicles, or keep the third one that's still running, maybe just as a reserve, but to at least have 2, because that's an investment for the city. And for our police department. So I think getting another vehicle would be
it's
good.
but it's a valid point. I think that's a solid
That's
suggestion.
something that he can definitely he can do the legwork and give us a proposal on that.
Yeah, it would probably be somewhere between, depending on the model and stuff, $50,000 to $60,000, what's fully outfitted.
Well, ultimately too, the one that keeps breaking is gonna be a horrible investment for the city, because it's gonna keep breaking, so we might as well sell that one and
But
find
did
something a little
he-
bit more reliable, just
did he want that for like a backup, like a spare or something?
maybe, yeah.
The code enforcement guy could use
Oh,
it.
yeah.
Just for a spare.
Yeah, as long as it's not just going over
Yeah,
these
yeah, just give it-
potholes
use
every
it-
day.
use it.
I have an idea, parks patrol,
Oh, cool.
park maintenance vehicle.
We don't need that anymore. We've got a contract.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that's right.
That's right.
Never mind.
We're just trying to make you
He
happy.
just needs signs for his truck, it'd be fun. We can get some magnets and put it
So I
on the
think
side.
the vehicle.
But we can't purchase land with that?
Sure.
I mean, there's parcels in the floodway that we have been trying to get, and we haven't reached out to other parcels that are in the floodway. We need to buy these pieces
You
of
want to sell
property.
yours?
On that subject, I know this is probably getting a little off subject, I do know the owner of that, and he approached me to talk about that piece of property that's right next to City Park.
Yeah.
Which one?
Arlene?
Adjacent, closest to the city,
Guardiola,
No, the one on
Honey Bates.
Alan Bates.
Alan Bates,
the-
yeah.
Arlene Lane.
yeah, on the
Behind.
left side of.
Callaway.
Callaway.
Oh, does you get out of Callaway?
Mhm.
I've reached out to him a couple of times.
Yeah, no, well,
But
it's
see,
his,
he's gonna want
it's
like
his,
$500,000.
well, they bought it for cheap, anyway, we don't have to talk
Oh,
about it.
you
This is
see,
not-
reached out to him, because I've talked to him, he's, okay, cool,
Yeah,
yeah.
It's 3 acres or something. I
That's
think.
and you
lot of
can't,
money.
you
That
can't,
would be
you can't
wonderful.
do anything with that property though, it's all.
That's right.
That would be
Maybe we need to talk to
wonderful.
the county.
We could
And do we
buy
have
that.
his, I guess we have his RV on lock too. Somebody's had to talk to him, cause there's an RV on that property as well.
Is it on, is it is?
Think so,
Sure.
I think so.
I think he doesn't have an RV.
Yeah, it does.
He does? Okay, I didn't know.
It's on the
Yeah.
slab.
Something
But
like,
yeah,
Anyway.
It's the one with the slab.
there could be land acquisition.
it could be, I mean,
Um,
it's a down payment.
Well, the problem is if it's a down payment, you have to go through debt, to get debt, you have to go through an election and get approved by the attorney general. It's big.
Nothing hassle.
But, you could also use, if we are fortunate enough to have surplus at the end of the year. And oftentimes we allocate that into the capital improvement fund. I believe that we could purchase land under a capital plan.
There you go.
I know the city is engaged on some failure to pay property tax issues. I talked, when we're preparing this, spoke with our attorney. He's working on figuring out how to get all the service, legal service done for that property, but that could come up for a public auction that the city might want to participate in, so.
And we've been working on that for 3 years.
Let's just get those enough. Well, how much, what do you want to put the 93,000?
I would put, if I were me, $20,000 in the utility fund, the rest of it.
The rest from where?
General fund.
I make a motion that we move the. Well, you want to leave some of it, or you want to move the whole thing?
Let's get it over with.
All right, so I make a motion, we move 20,000 of this, what is this allocate, revenue replacement allocation plan to the utility fund, and the remaining $73,418, which is an estimate, we know, to the general fund.
I second that motion.
Okay, all right, we have a motion and a second. Any more discussion? Okay, hearing none, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, it carries. All right, back on to 4.6. How do we pay the state back? And there are several options listed, or go back and negotiate another option.
Or the way I understood it, we have to pick one, and then we want to fight it, we have to fight it later.
Is that correct?
Because we have to respond within 60 days, otherwise they're just gonna take the money.
They're just gonna start taking it, yeah.
Yeah, they just want to start taking it.
We can appeal it.
There's no formal appeal process, but speaking with the comptroller's representative, listed on this letter, he said that if we want to propose other terms, she would consider them. But with one thing she wasn't going to consider is we're not going to pay it at all. That was just something we have to go take to the courts. The council decided not to go down that. So the question is, one of these three options are go back to her with some other term that they might.
Well, I reviewed, and I know he's not on the phone, I reviewed that particular case he's referring to, and in that particular case, the second piece of property, there actually was two separate properties. It wasn't adjoining like the situation we have.
Right.
And our situation is much more clear. Part of that property is within city limits, and it was only divided for the purpose of taxing. Part of it being in the city and part of it not. So the division of that property was very different with regard, in my understanding, than the case in point that was referenced as the benchmark. The benchmark case would have been an example of, the property here at the corner, Three Rivers Church, and then another one being over there in the Walton property. I mean, it was clearly not.
Yeah, and so that's where the issue needed to go through a title company to determine the meets and bounds, and then using those meets and bounds as the basis for.
Yeah, and then again, we have to go back to the point of, we bring that in front of the jury, who's gonna.
Well, like I said, I did research that other case.
Yeah.
And it is not in any way the same.
No, it isn't.
It is not the same. It is a very good example of why they didn't qualify. I totally, once you read it, yeah, it makes sense. Yeah, they're not gonna get the sales tax, I don't think that our situation is nearly as weak as that. I think our situation is very strong. With regard to that, because we know that when that establishment was created, that was where the financial transactions would occur. So there's been no change in ownership, there's no change in deed.
How do we prove that though?
Like you said, there's a deed a deed is created, the business is the same. A lease is created with the entities that they're leasing the whole property.
That was where our sticking point was, because where that.
Well, we gotta be careful, guys, on discussing
Yeah, legal.
executive session,
Yeah.
closed session items. I'll put it this way, if we want to choose the option D, negotiate other options, and we come back to city council with another conversation with our attorney.
How many days do we have left? This was,
We're done.
We're done. I mean, we're not gonna have another meeting before the end of the
right,
month.
so we need to
Because
pick up.
we
need to pick
received
up.
this January 30th.
What's our cheapest option for the month right now?
And how many months have we gone back? This is.
I'd like to mention a couple of things
Yes, ma'am.
on this. We may be losing this tax, but because of duets, we're gaining
How much?
quite a bit, actually.
The good Lord provides. He does.
It'll be more, it's coming, we don't, I mean, we don't have to
Yeah.
get all.
This is $837.
For-
Actually, hey, we can't say that.
No, we're all, in all kind of trouble.
Dios mío.
You can just say another new establishment.
Another new establishment.
Actually, we can't.
Yeah, I find it ironic that state information is not public, it's what it is, you know. If I ask for it, they have to give it to me.
We
Actually-
struggled even with open records requests to the state, but.
It's because you can then determine what's the revenue and competition and.
So are we thinking about fighting it?
No,
Is
I
that-
have an idea. I know what but there's a question I have to ask. So when it says apply all monthly collections to the overpaid amount until the amount has been repaid, what,
Basically, we collect $20,000 a month, they'll withhold 2.5 months worth
So they
of
know.
sales. So like, we want to get a sales tax disbursement for, April and May
Okay.
and June until the 53, then they'll restart it normal.
so I think me personally, I like option C.
I do
Because
too.
that's a 25-month payback agreement.
I
And I think the 2,140, that would be deducted for the 24 months, is,
Make the motion.
And it would give us time to keep negotiating.
so I would like
Make
to
the
make a motion to go ahead and, enter into a 25-month payback agreement for monthly deduction of 2,140 will be deducted for 24 months, with the final deduction of 2,143. And the deduction would start after, they receive the response, or 2 months after the date of this letter.
You know,
I
Okay.
second that.
Is there a second? Okay.
Second.
You don't want to keep going?
That's enough. Actually, but you're probably tired.
Okay, so we have a motion and a second. Does anybody else have anything else to discuss on this matter? Okay, hearing none, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, so the motion carries.
That was.
Sam, how do you vote? Sam,
Yeah, aye,
which one?
on to option C.
The guess?
I still want to fight it.
Yes, on option.
I agree.
I mean,
I
I
agree.
still want to fight it.
I know you agree, Mr. McGovern. You're in a fight today, aren't you?
Not as much as you.
I was fighting tonight.
Okay, we're gonna move on to 4.7. There's an interlocal agreement that was written. Okay, let me go back a little bit further.
You already said.
So, Michael Schroeder came from TAC Redwood, and he was asking for a three-way interlocal agreement between, no, so between TAC Redwood, the city of Martindale, and the county, Caldwell County. And Kent advised us not to do that, and so they wrote an interlocal agreement that we thought was very good.
So,
We sent it to the county.
hey, can I interject for a minute? The attorney gave us this third draft of the agreement, amending what was on the read ahead.
Oh,
He's calling him. He sent it.
okay, well, I was gonna get to that. I was gonna say, our attorney was gonna speak to this.
Hey, Bud, we're here talking about the interlocal agreement now.
Nico,
So, the mayor was just kind of recounting the storyline. If you want to just give us a brief overview of what you said in the last few minutes.
I think those have been addressed. I'll pull this up. So what I did is I changed their section 3.02 and put in ours. And essentially what it says is once annexation occurs, we can collect all revenue we're entitled to collect. They had some provision in there about annual budgeting and amounts that we're to pay, and I didn't think that it was applicable because there's nothing that we need to or are required to pay. And then if you scroll down to the end, I added a section to make clear that if there's a conflict between this and this agreement and the annexation agreement we entered into with Taft Redwood, then the annexation agreement will control.
Oh,
Okay,
good.
Real quick, but so has their attorney seen this document yet?
Their attorney has seen this document, save and accept the changes to section
Tonight.
3.02 and 4.15.
So they have.
4.1?
the last one, this
The last,
4.15.
so they haven't
Yeah.
seen it. Okay,
Correct.
okay. They have not seen it.
Everything is blue is new.
This is new, this is new. Okay. Good, you made some valid points there, Ken.
I'm sorry, say that again?
I said you made some good valid points on that document.
Yeah.
Does anybody else have any
So
other
this
comments
is, so
about
real
this?
quick, for clarification, we'll be voting on this document, this revised document from Kent, right?
Yes.
Okay.
So when I was, when we first got this back from the Caldwell County attorney, the only section that I was concerned about was this Article 3 and asked Kent to look at it. So these are the comments he's making on it.
Okay, I'll make a act motion to approve the revised interlocal agreement with Caldwell County on Taft Redwood development. Do I need to state that, based on his recommendations,
Yes.
based on his revised, additions to the document?
Okay, we have a motion. Is there a second?
I just wanna, can we just go through it real quick? Cause we just received this 30 minutes ago, and
No,
we know,
We've seen it before.
I know, but
Okay, we can.
Well, we actually need a
Okay.
second and then we can go into discussion.
Yeah, let her.
Yeah, I'll second.
Okay.
okay, so.
Now it is.
Is that a typo on it, Bert?
Where?
Yes.
Okay.
Am I mistaken that this thing is blown up to a lot more pages than before?
Yeah,
Before
Yeah,
it was two flipping pages.
I know.
yeah.
Yeah, it has.
The attorneys got after it.
Kent had really narrowed it
Okay,
down and
so
then,
it was 2 pages and we were trying to make
All
it
right,
smaller.
They had a lot.
Yeah, I mean, if you'll take a look at Article 4, beginning on page 2, and then you carry that all the way down through the middle of page 5. That's all copied and pasted boilerplate language that,
yeah.
I mean.
Copy and pasted what? I'm sorry.
Yeah, copied and pasted boilerplate contract language that you'll find in almost any contract. It's not, I guess you wanted it in there, which, I mean, that's fine, but it makes nary a bit of difference. Because it's just, it's standard provisions that you'll find in almost any contract that really don't add or take anything away from the actual substance of the contract.
So he made a change in 3.02 and 4.15 were the two changes from what is in your packet.
And did he add anything?
4.15.
Yeah, they blew it up pretty good.
It was it was,
I
we
know.
were trying to make it half a page.
I know.
Ken was pissed, it was a page
Well,
and a half.
he did just say that the majority of it from 2 to 6 is all.
I think those two statements cover.
Remove all that.
that was added.
But that was added by the county, and then
Yeah,
what,
the county.
what it's done is added to
Delete
more.
all that. Won't show me. But I mean, it's everything that's highlighted on the screen. It's almost like 3 pages of what Ken is saying is that boilerplate language.
Yeah.
Article
Yes.
4 is just, I mean, if you even look at a parks contract, it probably has something like this too.
He pretty much covers those two statements, in my opinion. You know.
I think it's the 7865.
I like that, upon annexation of property.
This is all the
the city shall be entitled to collect all revenue.
This is all the material. This is all the material. And then the county came and added all the red. They added all the red and
And
now
he changed
he
the,
just changed 3.2. This one, he's changed from this to that. And then he's changed, he's added 4.15, which is conflict. Which is, that was one of the things he was trying to get in the previous one.
Yeah, exactly,
The whole argument was the conflict.
exactly.
And they didn't like the wording of consider conflict, which was absurd as far as I'm concerned, because it makes all the sense in the
Well,
world.
we'll send him this tomorrow
I'm all for that.
if y'all approve it.
So on 3.2 where it says may, I mean, is may's a word? I mean, I was doing some contract stuff at my previous job and you always would talk about may or shall or will. Isn't may a little weak? May annex? Shall?
Well, yeah, I mean, the reason that the May is in there is because under the annexation agreement, we have the right to annex the property in the future, but it's hypothetically possible that the city at that point could say, thanks, but no thanks.
Got it. We don't want their 30-year-old wastewater plant.
Okay.
Right,
So
yeah,
that
exactly.
helps us a little by saying may, then it's not obligating us if it was shall or will.
Or this thing will never come inside the city. We'll have a mud for, we'll all be dead and the mud will still be.
I mean,
So,
you're talking, you never know.
I think having
Healthy as
this
that.
I've seen what he's done so far, right?
agreement actually is to Martindale's benefit more than it is to anybody else.
It
So
doesn't-
I recommend passing it. I recommend passing it.
We don't have a
I think it's
choice. We've
to the
already agreed
city
to
of
it.
Martindale.
We got a motion, so go ahead, Mayor.
Oh, all right. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
I'm high on the documents and paper and reading it. And we just had this like we just got it 30 minutes ago.
But it's only got two little changes from what was in the read ahead.
And actually, the last one was what he put in the previous meeting.
Vote
Yeah.
with your conscience.
There you go.
Okay, so the motion
Unanimous.
carries. Thank you,
Thanks,
Ken.
bud.
You betcha.
It wouldn't even matter
Yeah, no.
I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
Wait, I'm sorry, I have one
Ken
last
needs to go,
question.
Ken needs to go get some
Weren't we gonna
Sudafed.
have some master plan workshop the first week of April?
Yeah, but there's been some grant contracting that's taken us a while to get approved. So we haven't been released the funds. Right now, we're stuck with getting the contract from GLO. So we can't have the program without the support staff to make it happen.
Okay. So briefly, April, since we've got all this stuff coming up, what's our dates in April? Because we've got our eclipse, we got kite day, we've got, I mean,
You mean for city council?
Yeah, yeah,
It's the first and third Thursday.
That hasn't changed.
that hasn't changed, okay, okay.
The only one that might change in the future is the May as it relates to the election. And canvassing the election, probably going to be a special called meeting that second week. But we'll have to see how that all looks out.
And I'll maybe talk with the mayor a little bit about how we're gonna maintain or mow Allen Bates Park before Kite Day, because it's looking pretty pretty high up there. So
I know, I
we'll-
just
we'll talk.
hired.
Hire someone to mow it.
Yeah.
Okay.
I thought you volunteered, Sam.
It almost needs a tractor now, but all that bastard weed, but yeah, we'll,
You
we'll,
like saying
He
that.
loves saying it.
Well,
Can I just ask one, because, well, with our city and you know how the eclipse is coming, a lot of communities are doing like their emergency preparedness and like the roads and everything. Has Martindale considered what we're doing?
No, because two reasons. The library is doing an activity, but the second thing is the eclipse is not here. You have to go to like,
It's
yeah,
gonna be
you have to go
90%
to Wimberley.
mortality.
Pretty close.
They're all, they're all.
But
going
it's,
Kerrville.
we're not really in the path. I mean,
Path is-
I'm going to my friend's house in Mountain City. Got 20 seconds.
Did you know that the
Ooh,
Kerrville,
I'll be mayor during
you know
the
that
eclipse.
Kerrville is the center point.
At that time, she'll be gone. That's on the record.
500,000 people.
What? Never
Oh, dude, they've been sold, the Airbnbs have been packed for a year.
So Eastern Oregon went through, the, farmers were letting people out on their fields. It was fields of people.
It's gonna be worse. They say it's gonna be unbelievable. They're coming here
Yeah.
because of the best weather possible. So you better find your spot
And
and
the
not move.
trail is pretty good.
It's 20 seconds.
No, it's longer than.
Well,
that.
it's 20 seconds in Mountain City. And then if you go further into the neighborhood, you gain 11 seconds. So get up 31.
30 seconds.
And everybody in this room seen a full solar eclipse I have. It's unbelievable. You can, if
Back
it's
in
a full eclipse,
1929.
you can see with the naked eye. You can look at it with the naked eye if it's a full. Be sure to Google it first, but. I think no responsibility.
We are.
Okay. Can I have a motion to
I
adjourn?
make a motion, we adjourn.
Favor, please say aye.